If someone tells you 10% yield in Dubai real estate, ask them one question. Is that before or after costs? Because your bank account only gets the after. Look, most people are not lying when they say 10% yield in Dubai real estate. They are just using a number that sounds based on a listing. The real number is what you keep after service charges, vacancy, maintenance, and all the extra charges. Stuff that nobody mentions on a brochure or a listing. And if you are about to spend $1 million, this matters because few small costs can wipe out your entire profit. So here's what we are going to do. I'll show you the yield math that broker use, and I'll show you the net yield math that you should use. Then I'll give you 2 minutes sanity check that you can run on any Dubai deal today and figure out what exactly you will get in your bank account. Before we start, just notice this. When you buy a property, you are not buying a person. You are buying a stream of cash flow. And a cash has enemy. Some enemies are obvious, vacancy, repair. But the dangerous ones are this is not a big deal costs. The ones that feel like a rounding error because they show up every year, forever. And here's the thing, compounding works on a cost as well. So what does 10% yield actually means? Annual rent divided by the price you paid. So if a unit costs $1 million and a rent is $100K a year, your yield is 10%. That math is not wrong. It's just incomplete because that's a gross number. It's pretending that property has zero cost and never empty. It's pretending that you never pay anything to find a new tenant. It's pretending nothing breaks. But your bank account does not live in that world. So lock this in. Gross yield is marketing. Net yield is reality. Gross yield is what listing wants you to believe. Net yield is what you keep. And here's the second thing most people miss. Gross yield makes two deals look equal, but they are not. If you and I both say 10% yield, we might be talking about two totally different businesses. One could be stable, easy tenant profile, low maintenance charges, low service charges, low vacancy, and a low maintenance. The other could be building with a high fixed cost and a constant turnover. Same headline number, but completely different stress level and a completely different outcome. And this isn't about Dubai, it happens everywhere. But Dubai is where it gets dangerous because market moves fast. Marketing is loud. And a first-time investor gets pushed to make decision fast. So I want to slow you down, not with fear, with clarity. Now let's do the real math. I'm going to keep it simple. This isn't a perfect model. This is a sanity check model. The point is to stop you get hypnotized by one clean percent. Start with annual rent. That's 100K. Now subtract the costs that are real in Dubai. First one, vacancy. Even in Dubai, you will have empty time. Maybe it's 1 month between tenants. Maybe it's longer because you priced it wrong. Maybe it's longer because building has reputation and tenant leaves. But zero vacancy is not a plan. So assume 1 month empty. That's roughly the 8% of the year gone. Now your 100K is close to 92K. And notice what just happened. Vacancy didn't reduce your costs. It reduced your income. Your service charges still same. Your bill still comes. Your mortgage still comes if you have one. Vacancy hits you twice. Less income and same fixed cost. Second, leasing costs. If you use an agent, you pay an agency fee. It varies, but it's not zero. People treat this as a one-time thing, but it's not one time. If your tenant changes every 1 or 2 years, it repeats. So if building attracts short-term tenants, or tenants move fast, or tenant leaves, that small fee becomes a permanent drag. Third, service charges. This is the one that surprises first-time buyer. The service charges don't care if your unit is empty, they show up anyway. Depending on the building, they can be brutal. Here's why this matters. Service charges are fixed. Rent isn't fixed. So in a good year, you might not feel them. In an average year, they crush your returns. In a bad year, they can turn a profitable deal into a deal that's bleeding. Now, I'm not giving you one universal number here because buildings are different, but the principle matters. The fixed costs are enemy of a yield because you can't negotiate with them. Fourth, maintenance. People ignore this because this doesn't hit every month, but it hits. AC issue, appliances, painting, small repairs, furniture wear if it's furnished. You either pay it now or pay it with lower rent. And there is a second layer here. Maintenance isn't only a money, it's time. If you're an entrepreneur and you are busy, the wrong property doesn't cost you a few $1,000s. It costs you attention. So when people chase higher yields, sometimes they buy themselves a second job without realizing it. Now let me add one more cost line that people love to forget. Furnishing and refresh. A lot of Dubai unit rent better with furnishing. So investors furnish them first. And year 1 looks great. Then year 2 comes. The couch is worn, the dining chair is scratched, the mattress needs replacing, the AC has issue, the unit needs paint. It's not a disaster. It's just a real life. And if you ignore this, your unit slowly becomes less competitive. Then you lower your rent. Then your yield drops. So either you pay refresh cost or you pay through lower rent. Either way, you pay. So the question becomes simple. After vacancy, leasing fee, service charges, maintenance, what's left? That's your net income. And a net income divided by purchase price, that's your net yield. That's the real number. That's why two properties with a 10% can be totally different investments. One has low service charges and stable rent. The other has a higher fixed cost and unstable rent. Same headline, different reality. Now with all the calculation, maybe you end up with a solid number. But here's the problem. Most people don't run this number before they buy. They run it after. And that's the difference between investing and hoping. Let me give you a simple story. A friend of mine, smart person, not naive. He bought property because listing yield looked strong. Not crazy strong, but strong enough to feel safe. So year 1 was fine. Tenant came fast. Rent came in. Everything looked good. Then the tenant left. The unit sat empty longer than expected because the rent was priced for old market, not the new market. So they dropped the rent. Then they paid agency fee again. Then a couple of things broke. Not a nightmare, just normal. And then the service charges came in. When they finally looked at the year as a full picture, the return wasn't what they thought. Not a disaster, but nowhere near the headline yield. The deal didn't fail because they were unlucky. It failed because they were running gross yield math on a net yield world. And what surprised them most wasn't vacancy. It was the fixed costs. The cost that don't care if your unit is empty. That's what I want to protect you from. Now I will give you the fast test. You don't need spreadsheet, you need 3 simple steps. Step 1. Take the annual rent and subtract 1 month. If the deal can't survive 1 month empty, it's fragile. Now step 2. Subtract the service charges. If you don't know them, you don't know your yield. Don't guess, ask. If nobody can give you the numbers, walk away. Step 3. Subtract a messy bucket for everything else. Leasing fees, maintenance, small fixes, furnishing refresh, even a small buffer. I would rather be conservative and pleasantly surprised than buy a deal that only works in a fantasy land. What's left is your net income. Then divide it by the price you pay. If the net yield still looks strong, great. Now you can go deeper. If the net yield collapses, you just saved yourself from a very expensive disaster. Now here's how this changes your behavior. Instead of asking 10% yield, you start asking what price makes this deal work after costs. And that question makes you harder to sell. So what to say when a broker says 10%? Here's how you handle the conversation. Don't argue, don't accuse, just ask net yield. Is that before or after service charges? What vacancy assumption are you using? What is the agency fee? Is the unit furnished? Who pays replacements? What maintenance budget are you assuming? If they answer clearly, good sign. If they get vague, that's the signal. The number is being used as a persuasion tool, not as an investment tool. And if you are a first-time investor, you need that investment tool. And I want to be fair with brokers for a second. A lot of them are not trying to scam you. They are doing what just market rewards. The market rewards the clean numbers. But your job isn't to buy clean numbers. Your job is to buy a deal that still works when a life is messy. Because life is messy. Now the part that changes how you think. High yield usually means one of 2 things. Either you find something undervalued or you are being paid to take a problem. Sometimes the problem is obvious. Bad location, bad building, high churn, high vacancy risk. But sometimes problem is hidden. High fixed cost, weak demand at that rent level, weird unit layout. So when you see 10% yield, don't get excited. Get curious. Ask questions. What is the market is paying me for? What risk am I taking? And do I want that risk? Because you can build wealth with lower yield if it's stable, boring, and easy to hold. And you can lose money with high yield deal if it constantly leaking. So don't chase yield, chase quality net income. So the takeaway is simple. Don't buy Dubai property just because there is 10% yield. Buy it because net number after all the cost still looks good. And if you want to be safe, model it with 1 month empty and conservative costs. If it still works, you have a good deal. If it only works in perfect conditions, it's not an investment, it's a hope trade. The best investors are not the one who finds highest yield. They are the ones who refuse to lie to themselves. Now, if you want to go deep and see how Naval Ravikant, one of the best mind of our time, would have invested in Dubai, watch this video.